Hi, this is Denise Matthew. I hope you're doing well. I just want to pop in and quickly talk about the new moon that we're going to be having on February 1st, 2022. The point to keep in mind is that this energy can be impactful for everybody, but sometimes people who have gates that connect with the energy of the full moon or new moon or any of the transits can feel it a little bit more. So there isn't an exclusion for anybody to feel it or not feel it. We can all sort of step into the energy and feel what it feels like for us. I do have the gates marked that might be impacted the most. So let's talk about the new moon. The interesting thing about this new moon is that just after the sun transits from the gate 19 line 5 into the gate 19 line 6, that's when the new moon happens. So it's just over the line, which really talks about finishing a cycle. I did talk about this in my other videos that I did. One was the 2022 overview. I'll leave the link below, as well as the whole transit video that I did about February 2022, that this might actually feel like it's the time that we're starting a new year, gaining some traction, regardless of the January 1st new year and also the human design new year, because we did have Mercury and Venus in retrograde. We will still have Mercury in retrograde until February 4th, but Venus goes out of retrograde on January 29th. So it starts to move forward. And when Mercury starts to move forward as well, that's when we really might feel like we're starting to get some sort of a momentum building. And of course, because these planets have been going retrograde for a bit of time, it's going to take some time to get our momentum as well. So patience with ourselves and our process and how fast things are happening can be a really good thing to have right now. If we look at the overall theme for the new moon, it really does speak to this idea of spiritual revolution potentially, but also this ability to express ourselves spiritually whatever way we want. There could also be this connection with less of the material realm and more of this idea of having this ability to go within ourselves, to think about what matters to us spiritually, to look at the direction that we want to go in the future. And that really plays out when we look at the sixth line of the gate 19, which is called the Recluse. And this is about this idea that we're kind of stepping away from this concept of this tribal need to support based on the alliances that you make, and it's a give and take, and this mutual need to support because that's your duty. Where we're now looking at it as, I will support those who I want to support, and that is my choice, as opposed to the choice being made for me. Like, you're in this tribe and you need to make the choice to support this person because that's the rule, as opposed to this idea that I will support who I want and I will make the decisions because I am sovereign. When we look at the earth, we see that we're grounding into, or we're bringing into the manifest world, this idea of reflection, where we may have been reflecting on the past year, the experiences that we had, closing out a cycle, deciding what it all meant to us, and in some way concretizing the memory. Some people will write it down, some people will make a video, some people will look at their pictures and put the pictures together in some kind of a collage. But it is talking about, what did this year mean to me? What did I learn? Where do I want to go in the future based on the past of where I was? And if we look at the whole concept of the spiral of life, which I really like to bring into all the end of cycles, is this idea that we are further ahead than we used to be. We're in a brand new place. We may look like we've come full circle to the very same spot, but with us, we have all the experience that we have gained over the past year. So it's really a closing of a cycle, and we are starting in a brand new cycle with a new moon. And if we add in the concept that every sixth line is already looking ahead to the next gate, because when we get to the sixth line, we know that that is beyond the highest version. The highest version of every gate would be the fifth line, because that's the universalization or how everybody sees the energy. Then we get to the sixth line where we're suddenly moving into a new energy, but we also have the old energy with us. And this is what this is really talking about. So when we look at the gate 19, we see this sensitivity and this need to be supported, but now we're saying we want our individuality as well. And then we move into the gate 13, which is the next gate where the sun will be moving. And that really talks to this idea of transformation through our experiences. So we're moving from tribal energy to experiential energy. With the gate 33, we're moving into logical collective energy, which is really talking about leadership and the army. And it's also about this idea of, who will I put my support behind? What leadership will I support based on the reflections that I've had, based on the experiences that I've gone over? Who is the person that deserves my support? And it's this idea that we're choosing wisely based on who we think can get the job done for the collective. If we add in the energy of Jupiter that's in the gate 37 line 2, is a really nice energy because it's exalted. And this does add to the spiritual theme that we're really talking about. And I'm going to expand on a different theme of spirituality in a minute or two. I just wanted to talk about this first. And when we get to the gate 37 line 2, this is all about community, finding peace in your community and finding people who are like-minded. When we talk about Jupiter here and it's being exalted, now think about Jupiter, it's got a 12-year cycle, so it only comes to this line every 12 years, which means that it's kind of special in that it's happening right now and it's setting the energy potentially for the rest of the cycle of 12 years. This talks about joining community of like-minded people, but instead of being assimilated into the community where you become sort of one of many, you are having your individual spirit connected to the rest of the community. So everybody brings their own thing or their own talent or their own ability, you could say, to the collective or to the community. But the biggest key is that you are maintaining your individuality, your uniqueness. And so because of that, you could have a more multi-dimensional community where there are so many different ways of looking at things. And I think that this is an expansion that can really bring in some new concepts, new ideas, and new ways of being in the spiritual community where we're finding freedom in being who we are, yet the support of the community all around us. So we could say in a lot of ways the new moon might be about really nourishing your soul with a focus on your spiritual path and even your direction. The one thing to keep in mind, though, is that within hours of the new moon, before the sun is going to move into the gate 13, we have the moon transiting in the gate 49. When it does, it brings a full 1949 channel, which brings us an emotional channel or an emotionally defined solar plexus to the whole world. If we look at the solar plexus and we see this as a very passionate place where we have spirit. Now, the spirit that we talk about here is the spirit of ourselves, of what we feel is good for us and how we want to express ourselves in the world. Every different channel and gate coming out of the solar plexus has a specific flavor. When we come to the 1949 channel, that will be sort of in play for the whole of February 1st, from around 11 o'clock to about 10 o'clock in the evening. We look at this idea of a tribal energy or a tribal emotional wave, which is really about we need to be supported. On a global theme, we're saying we need our spirit supported. Now, in a tribal theme, having your spirit supported is this idea of the mundane material needs for the collective to be met, and also this idea that we have freedom to express ourselves the way we want to. Now, if we feel we're not being supported or we're not being treated fairly or just, then there is potential for revolution because this is an emotional energy. Now, it's a short window of time, but this really speaks to this idea of people wanting to have the spirit of who they are to be free from any constraints. And if we add in the idea of having the full 1333 channel between Saturn in the gate 13 and the Earth in the gate 33, now that still is in play, we also have this expectation that comes with most experiential energy of the expectation is that we are going to be supported because expectation is one of the biggest themes with experiential energy. Although that isn't the highest form of experiential energy or abstract energy, the highest form is that we are open to what the universe gives us, and expectation goes to the wayside and we accept what we get, and we enjoy the moment of the experiences that we're having. And in those moments to connect existentially with where we are, what we're doing, so that when the experience is said and done, we have a memory. Because without a memory, we have nothing left of the experience. And that's the whole thing. As we talk about experiential energy, all that endures is a memory. After an experience is done, we have nothing but the memory to remember it. And that's why it's so important for us to be in every moment, dive deep in the experiences of our lives. Because if we're always rushing to the finish line and not really paying attention to where we are in the moment and looking for that thing that we're expecting to happen, we can many times miss out on the best parts of the experience. And most times, as we always know, is that the journey to the goals or the experiences in our life are the ones that really matter the most. Because once we reach our goals, a lot of times it's like this kind of anticlimactic moment where you say, well, now it's done. Now what? If you have memories of that experience and of that journey, then you have something to hold on to. But if you don't, then that's where you can start to feel like, what did it matter? Why did I even go through it? And then there's this idea of not feeling like it was worthwhile. The other side of this revolutionary energy could be this sense of this spiritual revolution where you want to share your spiritual beliefs with other people, which is perfectly fine, but potentially not everybody will align with what you feel. And when we even say you share your spirituality or your spiritual beliefs, we could also say share your spirits with others, which means share your beliefs with others. And maybe not everybody believes exactly like you do, but yet you want people to align with you, to kind of come along the path with you. But the key is always to remember that not everybody will see the world exactly the way you see it, but your community is there. You will find your community, and the people that are in your community will have some level of like-mindedness. But the whole concept is that we have every different way of thinking, and yet we can all be together. So it's this parallel beliefs where we're side by side, potentially not sharing all the same beliefs, but being okay that you have alternate beliefs and that you can still be okay together. In this concept of we can agree to disagree. Now, if people don't want to go on that same path as you and sort of agree to disagree, and they still want to push their belief on you, then that's when potentially retreat might be the way to go. And to pull everything together, we also have Mercury in the gate 61, bringing a full channel with Uranus, which is in the gate 24. This is a 6124, where we have the potential for spiritual awareness and big downloads and this ability to have clarity about things that we hadn't had clarity about. The other side is this concept of people are keeping secrets from you. You don't know all the details, and people are wondering what the truth is and what the lies are. There could be this paranoia potentially as well, because there's always a duality in all energy. What we can get from this new moon is there's a potential to have a spiritual connection, this idea of seeing beyond the material plane and really locking into where you want to go in the future on your spiritual path. The other perspective is there is potential for some level of an emotional revolution or this emotional energy where you feel like you need to be supported and you are going to fight to be supported. We can get carried away with this idea of wanting support, wanting to feel heard, to have your freedom. But the other perspective is to connect with something bigger than yourself, to get those big downloads and to see that beyond this mundane world where we are in this moment, there is something much bigger, and our path can expand in an infinite way if we're open to seeing something beyond what we see right in front of us. So it's a choice that we can make to go within, to grow spiritually, or to get pulled into the material aspect of life and see where it takes you in the long run. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in my next video. Until then, take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.